Hi guys, a very good evening. A very good evening to all of you, and welcome in the ring, folks. Welcome in the ring. I feel a little off center. Let me pull my chair a little bit. A good night to each and every one of you. And we are privileged to be here with you guys, tremendously privileged. It's Monday. It's Monday. Yep. Believe it or not, it's Monday, the 8th day of February already. The 8th day of February already. So we are thankful for all of you for being here. All of you who wait religiously for In the Ring. We're going to ask, as per normal, that you guys share the live stream. I know we always take a couple of minutes as the show begins to share the live stream because this is a predominantly social media show. And what do we do on social media? When we're on Twitter, we retweet, we're on Facebook, we share, we like, we love, we're on YouTube, we subscribe to the YouTube channel. So many folks joining us at that end. We are tremendously privileged that all of you guys are joining us across social media. And so I am doing some sharing on my page as well, folks. Bear with me. And we invite you guys. Let me see a couple hundred shares, man. Why you all treating us so you know what the order is? You know, right? It's not say you know, you know. You know. I know what the Bible tells us. Do not know the will and do it not. Shall be beaten with many stripes. Folks, I want you to be beaten with many stripes. I don't want that. So we invite you guys to share, and I'm doing some of that as well. I have a couple of pages I want to share with you, and I have to share a couple of profiles as well. And then we're going to have a good start, folks. We're talking tonight about the fraudulent PPP and the firing squad. They're back at it. The fraudulent PPP and the firing squad. That's the issue we're talking about predominantly this evening. Folks, give us a share wherever you're joining us from, and then let's fight. Tag your friend, tag your enemy now, because chances are we can touch on some of them. Tag somebody, retweet, subscribe on YouTube, share on Facebook, give us your comments. Let us know where you're joining us from this evening. And like coal pot, the numbers building up. We're fanning. The fire catching. The numbers building up. We're going to wait till we get to that magic number. Hazel McLean, thanks for joining. You and all the other folks there. Big shout out to Hazel. Hazel, give us a share tonight. Thank you so much. All the other folks. Thank you guys so much. All right, I'm going to do some sharing. Oh my God, I see we're getting some lovely shares. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much. You know, as I always say, you have your part to play as viewers, as supporters, and we have our part to play as well. We want this message to be shared as far as possible, far and wide, that as many people can benefit. You know, as my colleague Randy says, that we got a fair, balanced, credible, valid information for you. And thanks to all of you. Guys, I had a really great weekend. I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. A really great weekend. So many beautiful people in Region 10 who welcomed us with open arms, welcomed the coalition, members of parliament, all the RDC councillors and the mayor and town council of Linden who were on the ground with us over the weekend there. You know, a really big thank you to all of you guys. You guys really helped us tremendously, touching base with so many people who big us up, you know, who kept calling out in the ring. They want to come in the ring. So many of you guys, I was so humbled. I was so humble from young people to, as we say, big people, so many persons who made our weekend very memorable. I have one other place I need to share it, and I'm going to be right with you guys. We had a good time, and thank you again, Region 10. Thank you, Region 10, for your hospitality, for the good food, for the lodgings, for the roof over our head. I stayed over from Saturday into Sunday. It was so good. As I was telling somebody, you can't rush. You can't rush Linden. You have to stay and enjoy all that they have to offer, all of the good meats in Linden, all of the good food in Linden. all of the good drinks in Linden. I had a great time. I had a really great time. I can't lie. I had a good time. And so, and you know what? I don't really do this often, but all the people who help this show to be what it is. And I know a lot of people have been talking, our detractors, the fraudulent PPP, the supporters. A lot of people talk about this show, and all the people who help us to put it together. I am very, very humble, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. All of the technicians, all of the writers and producers, the staff behind the scene who keep us valid and credible, credible and valid. Folks, I want to say thank you, because the folks in Region 10 really showed us their love this weekend, really showed us all the houses we've stopped in and said hello to folks and listened to their concerns. So many people. I didn't realize so many people tune in to the ring, you know, from Region 10, right? So I'm very, very heartened by that. And we are sending some love to all of you guys. Mwah, 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 mwah. Sending some love, some hugs and some kisses to all of you guys. All right, so let's get to our hot topics for this evening. I see we already have our guest in studio. He's powdering his nose behind the scenes and so forth. But let's get to our hot topics this evening. Quite a few things that I want to talk with you about. And as we come on, ladies and gentlemen, we have a bit of breaking news. The Bertrand Collins Public Service College has been shut down by this fraudulent PPC government. This fraudulent government, folks. You know, when Irfan Ali came into government, he said that, you know, we was going to be professionals and, you know, we are going to not witch hunt and we're not going to fire people. Well, all that was nonsense, right? All that was total confunction nonsense. Total confunction nonsense. Give me a second. I want to make sure that I'm on my notes. Apologies for that. Let me make sure that I am on my notes. Total confunction nonsense. Yeah. So that is what we had. Very, very early, we see the, I was made to understand that 24 permanent staff from the Bertrand Collins Public Service Training College have been fired, and they are closing that college. Now, the PPP never opened a school in their life, right? And the one school they went to can't be found. That's the 𝗪𝗪 University that Irfan went to. Cannot be found. And you put something proper in place. What did they do? They shut down the Bertrand Collins Public Service Training College, laying off 24 permanent staff. This is in addition to the hundreds, over 1,500 persons that have been fired by this fraudulent, wicked, illegal, immoral, dunce government. Right? This school has trained over 175 students to date who have started their careers in the public service, trained as a result of the Bertrand Collins Public Service Training College. Over 175 young people have been trained. Their lives have been made better. Right? Training is important. Right? So the wicked government, supported by Shiraz Ibrahim and others like them, shut down this college. Why? Perhaps because a lot of black people go there. African Guyanese. Because historically, you know, these are the people who've been interested in the public service, in serving the public diligently. So 24 persons are now on the breadline. How is Irfan Ali creating these 50,000 jobs? I wonder. I wonder, folks. I wonder. He's making room. They promised 50,000 jobs. Well, I guess a couple of people got to get fired. A couple thousands. 50,000 got to get fired to make room for 50,000. And so that is what we have this evening. On the international scene, y'all remember Lillian Busybody Chatterjee? You all remember she, right? Yep. 𝗪𝗵 𝗧𝗵𝗵. She was the High Commissioner to Guyana from Canada. Canada, where a lot of you flee to when Jacques Dieu was president. Thousands of you flee when Jacques Dieu was president. Well, 𝗪𝗵 𝗧𝗵𝗵 is now the High Commissioner in Barbados, Canadian High Commissioner in Barbados, and she is ambassador to the Eastern Caribbean. Well, 𝗧𝗵𝗵 put out this Happy Independence Day greeting to Grenada, which is very thoughtful of the High Commissioner in Barbados. The only difference was that the Prime Minister she put for Grenada is actually the Prime Minister of Antigua. So much for 𝗪𝗵 𝗧𝗵𝗵 and Caribbean Social Studies. Mr. Gaston Brown is the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, where I lived for a little bit. The Prime Minister of Grenada or Grenada is the Honorable Dr. 𝗁𝗏 𝗏𝗏. Right? I mean, where is there a diplomat school? I mean, any primary school child doing the little social studies and civics would know this. Gaston Brown is the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, and Dr. 𝗁𝗏 𝗏𝗏 is the Prime Minister of Grenada, 𝗪𝗵 𝗧𝗵𝗵. You see, when you want them people business, you got to know the facts. Valid and credible facts, 𝗪𝗵. Moving on, folks. 𝗂𝗏 from the Liberty and Justice Party, 𝗂𝗏, not Schumann, is 𝗂𝗏 because he's a Judas. It is not 𝗂𝗏, it's Judas. So G.H.K. Lal, who has a column in Kaichor, says that 𝗂𝗏 should not even think about heading the Public Accounts Committee as chairman, should not even consider that, because he's wicked and he's a scamp. 𝗂𝗏. And G.K. Lal says, and I quote, when Mr. Schuman was presented with the opportunity, more than one opportunity, to be open and candid and clean on where his dual citizenship situation stood, he vacillated, which is putting it rather gently. He was silent for long stretches. Then he was a bit artful in his dodgeries. And what should have been open and shut, routine affair, transformed into something that was less than honorable, a shade on the slick side. To come down real hard on Mr. Schuman on this, a very slick side that possessed elements of calculated timing to determine which way the wind was going to blow in Parliament and on that same dual citizenship issue. And then he hesitated for what appeared to me to be ages. In doing so, Mr. Schuman, contestant and candidate Schuman, did not do himself any favors, did not earn any points for being about the principal person that he was espousing. That is G.K. Lal, saying that Schuman, 𝗂𝗏, this Judas, should be the last person considering, contemplating, harboring the thought of being the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, because he's wicked and fraudulent. And he's already gotten his 30 pieces of silver. This gentleman here collects over $500,000, being the advisor of the government to civil aviation. Then he sits as a parliamentarian. More money. 𝗂𝗏. Folks, again, we turn our attention to more PPP corruption or continuing corruption. We spoke to you about this issue before. This gentleman here, Mr. 𝗪𝗏cie 𝗶𝗴, who apparently has no experience in contract work, in contracting, it is alleged, no experience, being given hundreds of millions of dollars in government contracts. Somebody in government this fella sleeping with. Somebody. And we can get to the bottom of it. Somebody he's sleeping with. So we were told over the weekend that in this road that he is building for the government in the city, this road he's building for the government in Hunter Street in Old Boys Town, with this company, 𝗪𝗧 Logistics. They say it's more sand and loam on this road. Residents are tremendously concerned. They say it's more sand than loam. Folks, as you come on and you're listening, give me a little share now. Retweet, like. Don't only comment and views out. More sand than loam, folks. And this project is worth over $100 million. And quite recently, the current chair of the Public Accounts Committee, the Honorable David Patterson, said that the company, this 𝗪𝗧 Logistics, has never done any road project for the Ministry of Public Works before this award. Never done any work for the government. Patterson said it would be interesting to learn how they were able to meet the pre-qualification requirement for such a technical project. So one is left with the inescapable conclusion: 𝗪𝗧 is sleeping with somebody in this government, 𝗁𝗁 or somebody. Folks, more hot topics. Guyana is not a real place. Guyana is not a real place. And several things it's done on a daily basis that tells us this. Guyana is not a real place. And to emphasize this, a few weeks ago, we brought you this issue of the, this is one of my guests' favorite place. It's iconic now. The bus shed. The bus shed in 𝗪𝗏, the 𝗪𝗏 bus shed, Canal number 2, West Bank, Demerara. This was a $2 million bus shed that's still building. It's months now, and the bus shed still building. So I'm about to launch a social media campaign very soon, in which I will tell you, go to the bus shed, take a selfie, post it, hashtag PPP corruption, and you could win $10,000. I'm about to launch a campaign very soon. The bus shed is still being built, ladies and gentlemen. This is it currently. This is it currently. Again, this is the 𝗪𝗏 bus shed in Canal number 2 on the West Bank. They're still building it, you know. Still building it every day. Scores of men turn up. And they're knocking wood and nail and cementing. Still building the bus shed. Ladies and gentlemen, moving on from that, I'm bringing our COVID-19 news early because it's going to give you an indication where we are going with our good night to all except. So I have to bring our COVID information very early to you guys. Very early. All right, let me make sure I have my notes correctly here. Yeah. We keep saying that we have to take every precaution against contracting the COVID-19 virus. As of today, 41 additional persons are confirmed COVID positive, which has taken us over the 8,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19. Yep. We're over 8,000 confirmed cases. 41 persons have been added just today. Which brings me to this photograph just over the weekend. This is 𝗪𝗓 𝗫𝗓. This is the Minister of Power and Light. And we ain't getting too much of that. This is the Power and Light Minister. And clearly, he ain't interested in COVID-19. Whether wearing a mask, whether social distance, he ain't got time with that. Because perhaps in his mind, COVID-19 is a hoax. And he is only emblematic of the entire PPP government, who has paid scant regard to COVID-19, ladies and gentlemen. And so with that, it's a good night to all except. A good night to all except our colleague. A good night to all except Mr. 𝗪𝗓 𝗫𝗓, because clearly he is not concerned about COVID-19. Folks, we have to lead by example And that is something the PP government is struggling with. Maybe because it's so fraudulent, maybe because it's so wicked, maybe because it's so illegal. So good night to all except that in there. Because irrespective of whether it's 100 per day COVID positive persons, 200, and it keeps going up by the 1,000 since these guys took office August 2nd. When on August 2nd, the deaths were 21, the COVID positive cases were 474. You see where they are now. There's 180 deaths plus, and you have over 8,000 COVID positive cases. So they don't concern. And for somebody who should be leading by example, he is absolutely not. So ladies and gentlemen, it's a good night to all except Mr. Deedat in there. And we're going to come back to him a little later on in the evening. We come to the other portion of our program now, close up, and this evening we are talking with Mr. The Right Honorable 𝗪𝗵cie 𝗬𝗏, who is going to be telling us a little bit about the PPP and their firing squad, because he's before one such squad this very evening. In addition to those 27 persons who were fired from the Bertrand Collins College of the Public Service. Ganesh, a very good evening and welcome.
Good night, Shara. Thanks for having me again.
Ganesh, I know that these fraudulent, wicked people got you before some tribunal. They're not satisfied that they've already fired over 1,500 Guyanese. I mean, they said they were going after political appointees, but you had, in a small population like ours, right? In the US, you got about 3,000 political appointees. The US got over 180 million people. You tell me we got 3,000 political appointees in this small population here. What's wrong with these people? So what is the new line of attack to try to get you out of the Ministry of Local Government?
Well, I think I owe it to your listeners to give them some background information.
Yes, please do.
So that they can understand the nature of what is going on. When the People's Progressive Party took office in August the 2nd, 2020, I was written to by the then Permanent Secretary, Mr. Emil Magarel, indicating that I was absent from work for 33 days. And the specific 33 days that they were speaking of is the 33 days when we had the national recount. And I think your viewers should know that I am a public servant, so I'm not a contracted worker. So they cannot just say that they're not renewing my contract. I am under the Public Service Commission, and I'm employed by the Public Service Commission, so I'm subject to due process should I be dismissed from my work. So what they did was to charge me 4 disciplinary charges. And I'm going to give you each disciplinary charge and the particulars. The first disciplinary charge is violation of an oath or affirmation of office. And the particulars is in that you, 𝗪𝗵cie 𝗬𝗏, allowed your name to be on the political list of candidates for APNU AFC for the 2nd of March 2020 general and regional elections, knowing that it constituted a breach and violation of your oath of office to be impartial. That's the first charge. That's a frivolous charge. And I don't know of any oath of or affirmation of office, because I never signed any oath, nor did I take any oath. So I don't know nothing of the sort. But what I do know, Mr. Duncan, is that the Constitution of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana protects me. And it says in Article 147, you see I highlighted it because I went well prepared today to defend myself. Article 147 is, except with his or her own consent, no person shall be hindered in enjoyment of his or her freedom of assembly, association, and freedom to demonstrate peacefully. That to say, his or her right to assemble freely, to demonstrate peacefully, and to associate with other persons, and in particular, to form or belong to political parties, trade unions, and other associations for the protection of his or her interests. So I am protected by the Constitution of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, and I am not bothered by that charge. But outside of the Constitution of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, I have also done some research, and this is a case I have here. This is a case study, or I should say a case law that was before the High Court of St. Christopher and Nevis against a public servant and the Attorney General, among others. And this case is a case similar to what is before the tribunal, where they're accusing a public servant of being on a list, and they're claiming that the public servant should not. But this case was won by the gentleman who was a public servant and wanted to go on the list of electors, on the list of candidates, sorry, to challenge the then Prime Minister of the country. And the judge ruled that the Constitution of St. Christopher and Nevis protects the individual and allows the individual to be on the list. And the judge cited this very Article 147, which is a part of the said Constitution of St. Christopher and Nevis.
Because
so this case is a testimony to the fact that our Constitution is supreme and our Constitution is final when it comes to these matters. No substitution.
One would have to ask, for instance, Elizabeth Harper was a public servant working with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, ran as presidential candidate of PPP, was on the list, and is still working with Foreign Affairs.
But not only Elizabeth Harper, Mr. Duncan, currently in Parliament, Dr. Tandika Smith, who sits on the PPP side, she is a public servant. She is a doctor on the pensionable establishment, and she is a practicing doctor sitting in Parliament. And she was on the list to be there. Also, you have 𝗪𝗵адц 𝗜𝗵 or 𝗫𝗵 𝗧𝗵𝗵. She was also paid by the public coffers, and she's also on a list, and she is also sitting in Parliament. And you had precedents that was set before. Many persons who are public servants sat in the National Assembly, and their names were on a list. You have Amina Hines from the PPP. Her name was on a list when she was serving as Deputy Regional Executive Officer. So precedence is there, but more so, law is there to support. The law is there to support that nothing is wrong with public servant being a part of a list or being on a list and eligible for extraction to the National Assembly. So that's the first charge that they have laid before me. The second charge is... Pardon me?
Tell us about the second. Right ahead. Tell us about the second.
Charge of absence from duty without leave or adequate excuse. And the particulars is, in that you, Ganesh Maipal, during the period 5th of May 2020 to the 8th of June 2020, a period of 33 days, were absent from duty without leave or lawful excuse, and was present at Hartachung Conference Center without obtaining the permission or approval of the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Public Service. Now, this is another frivolous charge, because during the period that they spoke of here, which is 5th of May to 8th of June, is when COVID was out, and that is when there was an official gazette that was gazetted on the 29th of April. And this gazette, the 29th of April, clause 5 of the gazette ran until the 16th of July. And what does clause 5 say? I highlighted it here again so that I can take it for my defense. Clause 5 says, all persons employed within the public service, a statutory body or a state-owned enterprise shall work remotely from home, except as may otherwise be directed by the Minister of Public Health, acting on the advice of the responsible minister or head of agency. At the time when this clause was enforced,
stay home, and then they want to fire you now.
At the time when this clause was enforced, it was between the period 29th of April to 16th of July. And they are charging me for being absent from work from the 5th of May to the 8th of June, which falls within that perimeter. The point to note is that I was always present at work when requested to be there by my supervisor. And my supervisor at the time was the Regional Executive Officer of Region 3. At no time did the Regional Executive Officer ever wrote me and say, Ganesh, you're not at work and you should be sanctioned, or you're not at work and you need to tell me why. No time. Now, this is since May and June they're writing me about. And they wrote to me about May.
Just by way of query, is that regional officer still on the job?
No, that regional officer was terminated.
So they fired the regional officer too.
Yes.
No, boy.
And the thing is, they came to office on the 2nd of August and they are going back to the APNU ASC time when there is evidence to support why I was not at work. The gazetted order says so, that you must stay home. And this is my evidence. And that is what I walked with today to present them. So that is to justify my second charge. The third charge that they have for me is that the statement absent from duty again. And this time they have quoted a period 3rd of August to the 14th of August. Now, from the 3rd of August to the 14th of August, there was another Gazette number 5. And Gazette number 5 said that you are work on a rotation basis. Public servants are to work on a rotation basis. And I was on rotation. And whenever my supervisor called me, I made myself available and I went into office. Again, I was answerable to the regional executive officer. And at no time did the regional executive officer or the deputy wrote me concerning absent from duty. So these are malicious charges. The fourth one perhaps is the most gullible one of all. The fourth one says charge of divulging official information of a secret or confidential nature. The duties do not require a public servant to do so. And the particulars are in that you, Ganesh, might fall on the 10th of August, published and displayed confidential information of the Ministry of Local Government on your Facebook page. The particulars needed to be clearly indicated what the information divulged was. And this was the information pertaining to Designs Unlimited and the awarding of the contract to Designs Unlimited. And as we all know right now, Designs Unlimited is owned by the son of Minister Nigel 𝗪𝗓. And in defense of that charge, I have here the Procurement Act of 2003. The Procurement Act of 2003 is the laws of Guyana also. And Section 10(2) of the Procurement Act says that upon request, information pertaining to a brief description of the goods, services, construction, or consulting services that have been procured should be made public. The name and addresses of suppliers or contractors that submitted tenders, proposals, or quotation, and the name and address of the supplier or contractor with which the contract is entered into and the contract price should be made public once requested. That is what the Procurement Act says. So if you're going to spend government money, if you're going to spend the people's money, taxpayers' money, you got to make the information public. And the information was made public by me. But it wasn't made public by me because they gave me the document. I wasn't working at the ministry at the time when I got this information. I was in Region 1. I was working in Region 1 when I got the information. Somebody from inside of the ministry was not comfortable knowing that this nepotism and this level of cronyism was going on in the ministry, and they decided to send information to me. I know that the information was not of a secret nature, and I shared it with the public because it is taxpayers' money. And by law, in keeping with the Procurement Act, I was well within my rights to share the information. So those are all my defense for the 4 charges. So what happened today, Mr. Duncan? I showed up with all my documents. I showed up with everything that I have for my defense. And I was also accompanied by two lovely young ladies from the Guyana Public Service Union because I'm a union person. I pay my dues. Uh, the two persons that showed up, before we started the disciplinary hearing, there was a gentleman present in the room that was not supposed to be there, Julius Faber, my neighbor in Region 3 where I used to live in the government quarters. And he was also the regional chairman at the time when I was functioning in the region, a political appointee. So I found it very strange that he was there. But my union rep asked, who is that gentleman and why is he here? And they said that he is a witness in one of the charges. So my union rep asked that he be excused and when we were ready for him, then is when he's going to present himself. That was accepted, and we proceeded. Before we started the hearing, there were some housekeeping rules. The chairman laid down some housekeeping rules, which we agreed with, and my representative requested to see the instrument that mandates the commission to do what they're doing, that mandates the committee to do what they're doing. Of course, if you are a part of a tribunal, you had to have gotten your instrument from the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development, or from the secretary of the Public Service Commission. And when we ask for the instrument to ensure that you guys are indeed the people to be a part of this committee and you guys are mandated by the commission or by the ministry to do to hear this case, none of them had the instrument. None of them presented an instrument. None of them they were so shocked that we would have asked for it. But by right, Mr. Duncan, if you are going before a committee that was put in place by an organization, the protocol would dictate and procedure will dictate that you have to be informed formally as to the procedure that will lead to this hearing. Nobody didn't write me. The permanent secretary of the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development didn't communicate with me to tell me she set up a tribunal. She did. So I went there in good faith, expecting the tribunal, expecting the 3-member tribunal to present to me their instrument to show that they are mandated or duly constituted to execute the function of hearing this case. And none of them could have presented it.
So where did the hearing go from?
The Public Service Commission rules also say that the officer that is being charged, which is 𝗪𝗵cie, whoever is a part of the committee to hear the case, whoever is a part of the disciplinary tribunal, they must be of a higher grade than me. So if I am grade 7, it means that the person who are trying has to be higher than me in terms of grade 8, 9, 10, 11, and so on. When we ask them, what grade are you, so that we will know if it's duly and properly constituted the commission, we ask, what grade are you, and what grade do you know what grade I am? None of them can answer. So it is quite clear.
You cannot be sanctioned by your juniors. You got to be sanctioned by your seniors.
Sanctioned by my subordinate. So none of them answered. And that, Mr. Duncan, is evidence that this committee,
that's what I want to say.
This disciplinary tribunal was hurriedly put together for one purpose, and that is to go through the ceremonial part of just summoning me to a hearing, and they would write a report recommending that I be dismissed. Because I cannot comprehend how you are sitting on a disciplinary tribunal and you are not even familiar with the Public Service Commission rules.
They know the outcome they want, so they ain't got time with nothing else, right? The instruments and everything and the grade and so on, they ain't got time. They know the outcome, so that's the only thing that matters. Whether they are legal to produce an outcome is of no concern to the dunce, 𝗪𝗪.
And I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if they already had their report written and just to submit it and just to recommend my dismissal.
You're just going through formality.
I want to assure you, I want to assure the public, I want to assure the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development, I am not giving up easily. I am going to fight
Ganesh,
for
I'm
what is my
surprised about the
constitutional
course
right.
that the meeting went, because if I remember, the Ministry of Communities had its own in-house counsel or legal advisor. What has happened to that person? I think it was a woman.
Well, that person is still on staff, but that person, I guess, was not consulted in all of this.
Okay.
Because I'm sure had she been consulted, she would have provided the guidance. But more so, the senior personnel officer of the ministry is well informed as to these procedures as is required for these disciplinary tribunal. And she also, I guess, was not consulted. But then it goes to show that when people are not au fait with the law, they can easily be ridden. But I am well read when it comes to the Public Service Commission rules and the public service rules. And
I'm
I
surprised
know
that
what
they don't know that.
is required.
I'm surprised that they don't know that. And Ganesh, as you're talking, there not
Exactly.
only were 27 persons from the Bertrand Collins Public Service College dismissed, but I'm seeing information here that suggests that 21 data entry clerks were sent home in Linden today. 21 young people, data entry clerks, were sent
And
home in Linden.
these are not political people. These are not political people, and that is why I find it so difficult to believe when the president, the fraudulent president, would say that he is not witch hunting. And I mean, when you look at the color of the skin of these people that are being terminated and dismissed, you are left to draw one conclusion: this government is going down the road of ethnic cleansing.
Yeah.
And targeting one particular racial group, which is very unfortunate. And all that we have done in the 5+ years that we've been in government is really going down the drain. And we cannot afford to continue along this line. Guyana is not a country for one ethnic grouping. It's not a country for one set
That
of
is what
people.
they believe.
We are
That's
a
what the
country for,
fraudulent PPP believes. It's their country.
and you know, the Bertrand Collins College has so many successful stories. These youngsters that came out from that college, I had the privilege of interacting with a few of them when I was at the region, and they all give credit where it is deserving, and that is to say that the Bertrand College prepared them for the public service. So when they came into the workforce, they knew what to expect, and they knew what standard they had to hold to, and they are exceptional in the manner in which they're performing their functions. They're doing extraordinarily well, and we have to give kudos to them who were successful at the Bertrand Collins College. And it's a sad day in the history of Guyana to know that the fraudulent PPP government is taking the time to dismantle such an institution that was put together for one purpose, and that is to enforce, reinforce, and basically make better our public service. We are going to go back, Mr. Duncan, to the days when public servants are very much abusive and loud and brawling to the people who are supposed to serve. We're going to go back to this lazy approach of public servants, and we cannot have that. We must not have it.
Ganesh, we are joined by our colleague, Ms. 𝗪𝗓 𝗵𝗲, Member of Parliament, the Honorable, and we're also joined by Randolph 𝗪𝗓, better known as Randy. I think he's ready for us. Let me pull in Randy as well. Good night to all of you.
That's
they have got Randy 2 seconds too early. But we're discussing, and Randy does a very interesting new segment for us called The Scoop. So I'm going to let Randy, just a minute, Randy, don't go too fast. Randy gives us the little things that you wouldn't get ordinarily, you know, folks. And that is why we call this segment The Scoop, because it's that little bit that just makes the difference. That little bit that makes the difference. And so, again, that segment is called The Scoop. And Randy, you can tell us what you have for us this evening in The Scoop for this evening.
All right, so good night, Sharon. Good night, 𝗪𝗓. 𝗪𝗓, I think you earlier telling us your life story, man.
Yes. Send me the book. Send me the book. I want to read the book.
Yeah.
Right there. The scoop.
Yes, and good night to MP Mike Paul. I don't know why he hasn't yet ascended to the bar, Senior Counsel Mike Paul.
He's always in the council.
Randy, I'm giving way to Darren Wade because he was the one who beat Anil Nandalal in the Hague case.
True, very true.
And beat bigly.
Right. So
Right.
the scoop. What's the scoop for tonight, Chair? We know that those persons were sent home from the 𝗪𝗵 College, and they shut down that college, of course. Very, very sad. But sources have given me some inside information.
Credible and valid.
Right, credible and valid sources giving me the inside information as to why and what is to become of the 𝗪𝗵 College. Apparently, we know that the PPP would have announced that they're giving 4,000 scholarship to some open learning institution or something like that. Rumors have it allegedly they are going to be using that space to do that, headed by Mr. 𝗪𝗶 𝗧𝗵𝗲. You know Mr. 𝗪𝗶 𝗧𝗵𝗲.
Interesting.
Yes.
𝗪𝗶 is the same fellow who supervised allegedly 𝗪𝗵ance doctoral thesis and used to be vice chancellor at the University of Guyana that 𝗪𝗵ance dropped out from.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. So the scoop is shared that the 𝗪𝗵 College will then be transformed into this facility that would house Mr. 𝗪𝗶 and his crew to do this learning institution thing. The problem that I have with that is that though these two things are oranges, you could continue with the 𝗪𝗵 College. You don't have to end that process because they're serving different purposes. One is preparing persons for the public service and training them to be professionals so that they can come and represent like Mr. Mike Paul. And the other is giving out scholarships and from universities and you're facilitating that. So I don't know why, but the scoop is shared. That is what they intend to do with the college, and apparently Mr. 𝗪𝗶 is the one behind this.
Well, that is exactly what we were on.
Allegedly.
Randy. That is exactly what we were on. The fact that you had the permanent staff there dismissed during the course of the day 27. Now we're hearing folks in Linden at these data entry clerks 21 would have been dismissed, and just this very last week at the NDMA in Region 10, the frequency management unit there, another set of people were dismissed. So I don't know if this is what they had this whole cabinet outreach to Region 10 for, to warn them of what was coming, all these dismissals that are coming in Region 10. And these are the people who say they care for you.
Yeah.
Rita?
Just a point and note for those persons who are listening who may not know who Mr. 𝗪𝗶 is, former Vice Chancellor of the University of Guyana, who was, of course, on the campaign trail with the PPP.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Randy. Yeah. Rita?
It's crazy, Sherry, because when I saw the article also with the 𝗪𝗵 College, I can tell you that it is very, very, it's vindictive, it's malicious, it's backward, it's a mess. The definition of the PPP. I don't know how else to say it, but I can tell you there's so many stories about the persons who have benefited from that college. A lot of young people benefited from that system. Hard working young people would have gone through the system. I know two personally that would have worked right at the office of the Prime Minister. That would have gone through the system, and it was such a unique learning experience. And not only that, it was structured in such a way that once you would have graduated from the college, you had this guaranteed entrance and job within the public service. Once you graduated from college, you were employed. It was not if or but. That's what it was. So now the PPP has gone. This is the same PPP, mind you, that has been talking about job creation. This is the way in which they are dishing out the job creation that they're so preaching about on the campaign trail. They are cutting employments left, right, and center. They're being malicious in everything that they do. They are not looking to assist not one single guy. They are giving out things to their friends and family. And with that bit of soup that Randy just brought tonight, it just makes it very solid in the case in which we're saying that they don't care about the poor people. They just
Yeah.
care about giving these big contracts to their associates. And as we would have known prior to 2015, they would conflict like the family tree of the PPP. And we see it growing once more. We see all these things playing out, and it's not going to change. It's going to get worse. You cannot go to the regions and say we care about you so much, and then with that same hand, you miss so many workers. Come on. In a time of COVID, persons are already on the red line. Persons have already lost their job. The government did not seem to increase the public carbon reduce it up. And now you have that same government and taking away the jobs from people.
Yeah, you and Jyoti, we also had the people from the staff from the ambulance brigade also
Yes,
recently
yes.
in them who were fired as well. So you added up. You add the data entry clerks, the fire brigade people, the NDMA folks, and what the hell is this government doing?
The government is operating as though they are answerable to absolutely no one. They are operators, they're not answerable to the people at all. That's why they're carrying on at this rate. I believe that, I think sometimes I believe that the people have gone mad. It's craziness over in the camp because it's beyond me to understand where they come up with certain policies. They don't conceptualize these things. Do they not see the backlash in that college job? Do they not see that, or is it that they just don't care?
Yeah,
They don't care. They don't care.
Ganesh?
I've seen that they don't care.
Yes, we can get to that they don't care, but Guyanese people need to understand that they don't care, and Guyanese people need to start caring. You need to care about yourselves. I know you have your viewers out here tonight. They need to care about themselves, and we need not forget any of these actions. We cannot stress it more. These are the things that people did before, and I often say that Guyanese have this unique ability to forget things quite quickly. We need to start remembering. If we were able to look far back as to what they were doing prior to 2015, we would see that it's the exact thing being repeated today. The actions of the people today is the actions that they had prior to 2015. Nothing has changed. It's the same people.
Yeah.
Mr. Dunk, if I may, we have to understand that we have two sets of people in this country. We have the People's Progressive Party that is focused on enriching themselves, enriching their friends, and enriching their families at the expense of the taxpayer. We have a People's Progressive Party that is focused on robbing the ordinary guys. A People's Progressive Party that is focused on basically making their name in the terms of the richness of themselves. They want to always be within that affluent category, even if it means that the taxpayers must continue to be poor. And we see that in their practice, we see that in the manner in which they execute their functions. Look, for example, the other day in the National Assembly, the Minister of Finance brought two motions to raise the debt ceiling of the domestic ceiling and the external borrowing ceiling and the domestic borrowing ceiling. You have a domestic ceiling right now at $150 billion, and the PPP is proposing to raise it to $500 billion. In fact, they have already raised it because we debated the motion and it has become law, so to speak. So it is now at $500 million. The PPP cannot tell this country today why they had to raise it to $500 billion. What is it that they're looking to do with $500 billion? And
Yeah.
do you know who will have to pay back the $500
Well, I
billion?
can show you, Ganesh. I can show you where $500 million is going.
You see, perfectly well. And that is what taxpayers have to understand.
Yep.
Do you know, Mr. Duncan, that it has been 6 times since 2020, August 2nd? 6 times fuel prices have gone up. The other day, 3 days ago, fuel was $175 per liter. And today it is $179 per liter. And that is how they're going to continue to pressure the poor people. That is why the PPP was not able to give public servants no proper salary increases. That is why teachers had to suffer for salary increases. That is why nurses and doctors got to cry out for salary increases. Because instead of them focusing on spending the country's money, the country's revenue, the country's wealth on its people, they are thinking about spending it to pay back loans, which they are going to borrow. And what are they borrowing it for? To build more hotels? We know that there is a sitting minister in this fraudulent government that has moved from his home to a hotel because his rooftop got to fix. I don't know if they're going to build more hotels for that purpose, but you have to look at your country and you have to think about people and development simultaneously. You cannot think about giving us the extraordinary buildings, the big mansions here, the big mansions there, lengthy roads here, lengthy roads there, and your people are suffering. You have to enrich your people and simultaneously think about development. You have to know how to balance the scale. And that is what the coalition was very good with. The coalition understood that there was need for sea defense, proper sea defense, and we spent money there. We understood that there was need for proper roads, and we spent money there. We understood that there was need for better bridges, reinforced concrete bridges, and we spent money there. We understood that there was need for a better education system, and we spent money there. We
And the
understood
most
that
money
there was
there.
need for a better health service, and we spent money there. We understood that there was need for a focus on all the sectors of our country, and at the same time, we understood that there was need for us to focus on the working class, on the poor people. We gave the David G buses, bicycles, boots, breakfast, everything to encourage our children to get an education, because the biggest wealth, and that is what the coalition understands, the biggest wealth one can achieve is education. And that is why the Bartram Collins College is so important, because it was preparing young people for the world of work so that they can go into a system and better serve the population. But with the dismantling and the shutdown of this Bartram College, we are returning to a chaotic
We're going to
public
shut them
service.
down. We're going to shut the government down. We're going to shut them down. That's what we're
And
going
that
to
is
do.
what we have to do.
Yeah.
Sure, I know Ganesh has been commented there on the debt seal, and I think it's important for us to actually put a lot of attention to that fact that we have the debt seal and that has been increased so by such a significant amount. Because I don't think we have stressed it enough. We go to the parliament and we debate on these very, very important matters, and we need to break it down at some point to people of Ghana so that they can
I agree
understand
with you.
what
I agree
exactly
with you.
we are doing in the house. And especially when it comes to that, Ganesh was asked a very important question. What are we doing? What do we need to increase this the debt ceiling to that amount? And the fact that when people took office, you would have remembered, everybody would have remembered actually, that they spoke a lot about cutting taxes, and the coalition was at pains in explaining to the Guyanese people that yes, the PPP is removing some taxations, but who does it benefit? Who does these deductions and these elimination benefit? And we were saying quite often that it benefited the rich and wealthy. They removed tax from the multimillionaires, and ordinary citizens didn't benefit. And I just wanted to create this link because it's first year economics. A government requires resources, revenues, so that in order for them to put forward projects and these developmental things within a country. when the PPP went in the office and they cut out a significant part of the revenue stream by eliminating certain taxation from these large businesses and corporations, what they did was reduce their revenue stream. So in essence, now they have a government that cannot, it is ludicrous. No government can afford to cut spending. Government has to increase spending over time. But this government has reduced its income, so to speak. And now with reducing your income and you have to spend more, where are you going to get the money from? The government has to opt now to go and borrow the money from these lender agencies and different countries and so forth. So the government could have not come to Parliament, I'll be that blunt, and bring a budget for 2021 without doing that, because they have already shot themselves in the foot when they cut off the revenue streams from these multi-million corporations and large businesses within the country. But the parties need to understand, I want people to form this unique linkage to what is going on right now, is that when they do this, the taxation has already been removed from these businesses. So who is paying back for these borrowings? It is coming back directly to the poor people within the union.
With large interest rates.
It is crazy, and we will be paying those borrowings off for generations to come, and we cannot allow them to continue like that. And anybody that knows anything about borrowings, when you borrow money from any other country, from any other institution, they come with requirements. You are required to do this, and you're required to do that. It's not just like that. And interest rates and all of those things, there at some point in time there are even requests for structural adjustment within the economy and all of these things. But I don't want to get into policies of it.
We are going to focus on it in subsequent programs. We're going to focus on it. We have the national budget coming up. We're going to as Randy would say, we're going to unpack. So folks, unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it there this evening. The Right Honorable 𝗪𝗵cie 𝗜ʰ 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗵 Members of Parliament, Randy 𝗪𝗵cie 𝗜ʰ, the man who has the latest, the scoop. You have to put it together every evening. Folks, thanks very much for joining. Viewers, see you tomorrow evening. We advise you guys, don't be like Deodat in there. And I'm sorry this is going to come up at Dorita's end this evening. Wear your mask, sanitize, social distance. A good night to all, except Deodat.
Sharon, remember you and I have an agreement. You'll never put those things back on my side.
Good night to all, except. Folks, do have a wonderful evening and stay safe. Thanks for joining.
Good evening.
Good night.